Batgirl, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Holy Little Red Riding Hood! What big eyes you have!
What are you talking about, Robin? I'm just your crime-fat pal Batgirl. Don't you wanna go fight some crime?
I just remembered Robin and I have an emergency nighttime fishing trip.
An emergency nighttime what? Oh.
Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Today we're going back to the world of Adam West with the McFarlane Toys Batman 66 comic book Batgirl. Starting with the packaging, and Batgirl comes in a colorful Batman 66 blister card. Note that this is Batman 66, which is the comic book rather than the TV show. We can see that from the comic art on the back. Digital render, which does bear a faint resemblance to Yvonne Craig. More on that during presentation. As usual, there's the swirly action bubbles, but this time they have accessories instead of onomatopoeias. But as always, the figure is set against a swirly blue void. These blister cards are super colorful and really pop on the shelf. And for packaging, I'm giving Batgirl 1 whole point. Moving on to presentation, and Batgirl stands at 5 3/4 inches. You might not know this, but Barbara Gordon is my favorite female DC character. Possibly my favorite female comic character in general. Unlike a lot of characters, she didn't start out with tragedy turning her into a hero. Instead, she was inspired by her hero Batman to become a hero herself. What makes Barbara compelling is that all the tragedy in her life happens afterwards, and yet she perseveres and becomes an even better hero for it. As I said before, this figure is based on the comic book rather than her appearance on the TV show. Though I don't know, the comic looks like Yvonne Craig to me. Two-Face was based on a comic, but he wasn't so cartoonish. From what I've heard, Yvonne Craig's likeness rights are not currently available. It makes me nervous because likeness rights is why I heard we got Eartha Kitt instead of Julie Newmar, but then we got Julie Newmar. This makes me worried that an actual TV show version is coming and that we're going to be expected to buy Batgirl all over again. On the subject of Catwoman, there's some interesting shared sculpting between the two. I'm not saying that there's any reuse, but Catwoman was definitely the base body that they re-sculpted to make Batgirl. Just look at the general shape and lines on the torso as well as the waist cut. For whatever reason though, they made the legs on Batgirl really deep set. Not gonna lie, it takes me out of it more than the other figures in the wave. On the show, Catwoman and Batgirl had sparkly costumes as evidenced by these paint flecks, but no such love on Barbara. While we're here though, very nice job on the utility belt. On the show, Batgirl's cape was purple on the outside and gold on the inside. This one, however, is all yellow, more like Robin. It's the same thing that McFarlane did with Superpowers Tim Drake. While we're here, I have another interesting observation about Batgirl and Catwoman: the colors of their costumes. When the comic version of Barbara Gordon appeared in the comics, she wore a black bodysuit. At that same time in the comics, Catwoman was wearing purple. And yet when they decided to adapt it for television, they gave Catwoman a black costume, so when Batgirl came along in season 3, she got the purple. For a brief window, both characters wore gray, but in general, they've been flip-flopping between black and purple ever since. I don't know, just think about these two characters and their costume swaps fascinate me. Anyway, one big change I appreciate is the inclusion of peg holes. I'm not saying this is the best line in the world or anything, but it does feel like some more corners were cut this time around, especially when considering the inaccurate cape, the deep set hips, and the lack of sparkles. And then there's the fact that they didn't have the likeness rights to Yvonne Craig. Mixed in with the rest of the collection though, and you'll hardly notice. Even so, for presentation, I'm giving Batgirl half a point. Moving on to posability, and sadly there are no meaningful updates there. From the top, and Barbara's head's in a ball joint. Her hair is a bit softer, but you still can't look up. This far down, little bit of tilt, and side to side. Moving down, she has swivel hinge shoulders that can raise up this high, single jointed swivel elbows, and swivel wrists. Moving down, she has a swivel waist, allows her to twist side to side. Below the utility belt, and Batgirl has T-style swivel hips. They can kick this high. They can also go back this far. Traversing down the leg, she has single jointed knees that bend and swivel. Sadly, there's nothing in the ankle. In terms of articulation, let's just say we're not going to be twisting this Batgirl into a human Siamese knot.
This is torture. at its most bizarre and terrible.
It might seem hypocritical of me to complain about these figures while giving a pass to Superpowers, but Superpowers is replicating the articulation scheme of the original line, and those are half the price. These now cost as much as a DC multiverse and can't even hinge their ankle. For posability, I'm giving Batgirl half a point. Moving on to playability and credit where it's due, McFarlane has been listening to criticism. Previous waves came with nothing but clip-on onomatopoeias. Batgirl, however, comes with a batarang and bad handcuffs. Gosh, Batgirl, I don't see what handcuffs have to do with turning me from a boy wonder to a man. Unfortunately, the holes are too small to go over any of the other figures' hands, and it's too rigid of a plastic to stretch. Still, it is nice to have them. But while character-specific accessories are worth celebrating, playability is more than just accessories. It's also about how well your figure plays with others. For my entire Batgirl collection, and here we have a Walmart reissue of Batman the Animated Series by Kenner, looking almost nothing like how Alicia Silverstone appeared in 1997's Batman and Robin, and Legends of the Dark Knight also by Kenner. Moving over to Mattel, and here's a blue and gray Batgirl from their DC Superheroes line. It was given a revamp for Batman Legacy. Moving up in scale, and here's an Alex Ross version by DC Direct, the overly busy for my taste New 52 version by DC Collectibles, and the DC Designer Series Grey Capullo version, which requires a figure stand to, well, stand. Inspired by the 60s costume, she was back in purple for her Burnside look. This is from the DC Essentials line, but it was back to blue and gray by the time McFarlane took over in 2020. Here's black and gray and blue and gray versions of 3 Jokers, and Gotham Knights once again putting her in purple. For the rest of the retro series, and here's Batman himself, but for those who are interested, I have acquired the Mattel version. Back to McFarlane, and here's Robin the Boy Wonder, Cesar Romero's Joker, Burgess Meredith Penguins by both Mattel and McFarlane, Julie Newmar and Eartha Kitt versions of Catwoman. Eartha Kitt's the Catwoman that Batgirl played alongside in the TV show. And then we have Frank Gorshin, who I think is the best live-action Riddler, and Two-Face from the comic book series, but also kind of inspired by the animated movie. If you were wondering how she'd scale with Silver Age DC Universe classics, and here we have Batman and Robin, the Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, my warped leg Riddler, and Two-Face. For the gentleman's gentleman who kept her secret identity, and here's the Alan Napier Alfred from Mattel Multiverse. But for a relative scale comparison, here's Batgirl with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here she is with Stealth Iron Man. The bigger this line gets, the more fun it becomes. And I gotta tell ya, I love the idea of expanding to the comics and all the new characters that can give us. Hopefully, at some point, we'll also get Barbara's Batcycle. For playability, I'm giving Batgirl 1 whole point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price.
I've worked for you a long time, and I'm paid less than Robin. Same job, same employer means equal pay for men and women.
No time for jokes, Batgirl.
Batgirl and the entire Adam West collection is a Target exclusive and retails for $19.99. Although they have been creeping up to $23, that's the same price as a basic DC multiverse. As much as I like this, there is no universe where I can possibly pretend that the value is the same as this. For price, I'm giving Batgirl half a point for a grand total of 3.5 out of 5. Are you picking up this Batgirl, holding out for Yvonne Craig, or just passing altogether? Sound off in the comments below, and don't forget to tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.